What's happening, everyone? I'm James Lynch. Welcome to the Fanatics View Hockey Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you guys have any questions, post them in the chat. I'll get to every single one of them I can. We got a lot of time today. I know it's been a bit since we've done this. I think 2 weeks since we did our last show. And again, appreciate you coming on here a little bit earlier today. I did have a bit of a scheduling conflict, but I wanted to make sure we got the show done because, like I said, it's been about 2 weeks. For those who don't know, I went to the Vegas Golden Knights and Canucks game 2 weeks ago, which bad choice because the Canucks ended up getting, they just played awful. It was just a terrible, terrible game, but it was. I had a lot of fun as well. I mean, I love going to Vegas to watch hockey. I think it's the best hockey atmosphere in the league. I think it's great. And then last week I was covering UFC 300, but we're back here now. Going to keep the shows every Wednesday. Actually, on that note, I may go live after some of the playoff games in the evening. I'm going to try that out next week. So I think after game one for the Canucks, I will go live after that, give you guys my thoughts on that. So again, I'll have updates on the channel as far as anything that's happening on this channel, as far as like, when we're going live and all that. But I want to try that out after the games just because we'll have a lot to talk about, immediate reaction after the games are done. As we always do on the show, going to go through some of the content that's on the Fanatics View channel. You guys should be subscribed already. If you're not, what are you waiting for? And you can look at it here. Lots of good stuff here. Of course, so the Canucks winning last night 4-1 against the Calgary Flames. Really good win there. Rick Tocchet talking to the media last night. Also, JT Miller, Thatcher Demko making his big return last night, looking great in that 4-1 victory. We've also got some stuff here from Paul Maurice, the head coach of the Florida Panthers, Matthew Tkachuk, obviously Carter Verhaeghe, and then some Dallas Stars stuff as well, Scott Wedgwood. So yeah, lots of good post-game content. That's why you got to subscribe to the Hockey on Fanatics View channel. Not just going to get one team, you'll get other content from other teams as well. So make sure you go check that out. And that's a good segue to our next thing, which is let's look at the scoreboard from last night. So one thing I wanted to talk about on here actually, and because this bit me in the ass last night, if you guys are betting hockey right now for the next week, because obviously playoffs start next week, or this weekend, I think, be a little bit careful because what you may have is... you may have good teams resting their players. And like, for example, last night, like the Bruins losing to the Senators, like who would have called that? I mean, the Bruins are one of the best teams in the league. The Sens are way out of the playoffs. And here are the Bruins losing 3-1. I know they were unhappy, but just keep that in mind that maybe some of these guys are taking the pedal off the gas, so to speak, because they're already in the playoffs. The Senators have more to play for, I suppose. Although saying that, I mean, if you're the Sens, you want them to lose more games to get a better draft pick. But you just look at it there for the Senators. Anton Forsberg, 35 saves last night. So, the Bruins gave it a decent effort, but they were outplayed. Linus Ullmark letting in 2 goals on 19 shots. That's a little disappointing. You figured they'd do a little bit better there. But yeah, this is one where, just keep an eye out for certain teams. Like I know, for example, Vancouver's playing the Jets coming up here. They might want to rest some players. We'll see. Although saying that, I think the Canucks are getting like almost a week off before the playoffs start. So we'll see. So that was a bit of a shocker last night. The Red Wings beating the Canadiens. It's unfortunate. So the Red Wings aren't going to make the playoffs. We'll talk about the playoff matchups in a second here. But they did get it done in a shootout. Did you guys watch that game on Sunday between the Red Wings and the Canadiens? Shane Gospear, doing that friggin' Yao Ming impression, grabbing the puck out of the air, bringing it down, and then of course Lucas Raymond scoring for the Wings and getting the win there. And then they win last night, but it's not enough. They are eliminated from the playoffs, which is crazy. Like I grew up in an era where the Wings always made the playoffs. I mean, I think it was until I was in university that the Wings like actually missed. So it's kind of weird that the Wings are on the outside looking in. And this is a team that has basically gone through a bit of a rebuild. When Yzerman came in, they were, trading players, carving out cap room, but they made some additions in the summer, like getting DeBrincat, and that's where you sort of saw them, okay, we're going to make the playoffs this year, and it didn't happen. I do wonder if Derek Lalonde, the coach for the Red Wings, his job is going to be safe. I would say no. This was a season I think they expected to take a step forward. They did not. Again, great to see them win last night, but the expectation was they were going to make the playoffs, and they did not do that. So tough for the Red Wings there. And the Canadiens, obviously, they're in a rebuild as well. So, no shame losing last night. They're going to be wanting a top pick there. So, yeah, Wings on the outside looking in. This was the big game last night. The Capitals winning. The Capitals are in the playoffs. Now, someone who, I think I mentioned this before, but Alexander Ovechkin's got to be one of my favorite hockey players of all time. I love that guy. Happy to see them in the playoffs. I know people would have wanted the Wings, but I mean, if I could choose, of course I want the Capitals in. It's Ovi. You want to see Ovi do well. Ovi, like, who does not like Alexander Ovechkin? I need to meet those people because this guy is not only super entertaining on the ice, he's got a great personality off the ice. The guy's still playing at a high level at his age. Like, it's just awesome to witness. So, Listen, I know the East was kind of wide open at the end. More than happy to see the Capitals get in there. Again, this is a team that, they've gotten rid of players and they've gone through a bunch of transitions, but here they are making the playoffs here and getting it done. And Ovechkin again getting a goal last night. You love to see it, honestly. Like, he's Mr. Iron Man, so to speak, there. And you look at Lindgren making 28 saves last night, 27 saves, which is very encouraging. The Flyers, too little, too late, unfortunately. I would have loved to have seen the Flyers in the playoffs just for, well, two things. Number one, they play a really physical style. And number two is the fact that, you get the John Tortorella postgame stuff, which I think is really, really entertaining. So, that's kind of my thoughts on the Flyers. But let's be honest here. The Flyers exceeded expectations this year anyways. The fact that they're over 500, a lot of people didn't expect them to make the playoffs. They didn't, but they beat the Canucks this year a couple times. Like, this is a team that definitely surprised some people, and they're going in the right direction. They've got some picks. They've, it seems like they're in a good spot for next season, so no shame in the Flyers losing that game. Let's go through the next game here quickly. Whoops. We got the Jackets being the Hurricanes. So again, this is what I'm talking about. Like, the Hurricanes should have beat the Jackets. I know they're on the road, but Hurricanes are one of the best teams in the league. And, how do you lose to the Jackets? How do you let up 2 goals in the third period? Not very good there from the Hurricanes, who played Spencer Martin last night, someone I'm very familiar with, former backup goaltender of the Vancouver Canucks. So, he makes 19 saves on 25 shots. And then the Blue Jackets, you can see there, 41 shots on goal for Jet Greaves. I've actually never heard of this guy. I'll be completely honest. So, Jet Greaves getting the win for Columbus. That's encouraging. But again, these games don't matter for Carolina. They're already in. The Panthers beating the Maple Leafs, shades of last year's playoffs, getting it done there. I know this game was tied at one point, and then, you can see there it was, Leafs were up 2-0. And then, I remember the Panthers tying it 2-2. And then look at that. The Panthers getting 4 goals in the second period. Not good for the Leafs. Again, Joseph Woll, 41 shots, 37 saves on the other end of the ice. Just 26 shots for Stolarz, who's not even their starter. That's not good for the Leafs. But again, they might be resting guys. I'm not sure. The Jets beating the Kraken in overtime. That's a good win there. The Golden Knights beating the Blackhawks. The Golden Knights, keep an eye on them because they could end up in that third spot in the Western Conference. We'll talk about the matchups in a second, but again, pretty predictable there. And the Canucks beating the Flames. I had a couple of friends of mine text me last night and be like, oh, the Canucks look great. And I'm like, I just want to remind you guys that the Flames are not a good team. Like, I can't, listen, it was great that the Canucks were firing on all cylinders. It was great to see that, some of their top players like Pettersson and Miller played quite well last night. Even a guy like Tyler Myers, they were talking on the radio this morning. I think he's like 3rd in the league in shorthanded goals for defensemen. Like, that's awesome for Tyler Myers, who's been, a bit of a disappointment since signing his contract a couple years ago. Look, like, the Canucks should beat the Flames. They're at home. The Flames are a non-playoff team. They sold a bunch of assets. That's what should happen. So it's encouraging, but it's not something I'm like looking at like something being like, to take away from, so to speak. So that's kind of what I'm getting at. So that's all the action from last night. We'll look ahead to tonight's games. Let's get to a couple questions before. And I forgot to mention the poll question, guys. Who do you think is going to win the Stanley Cup this year? I put a couple different options. We've got Carolina, we've got Dallas, we've got the New York Rangers. You could go over on the West. You could go Colorado. You could go, there's a lot of options here. I think the East is really wide open. And I think the West, like, there's a lot of good teams. Like, if you would tell me that Colorado was going to make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, I wouldn't be surprised. My pick personally is Dallas. I think and I'm not just saying that because my boss is the guy who allows me to do this show every week, is a Dallas Stars guy. But no, seriously, if you look at the Dallas Stars top to bottom, they have everything. They have grinders. They have like elite scorers. They have, good defense, like them getting Tanev was a great move. They have the goaltending. Ottinger has struggled this season, but it looks like he's been picking it up. And if he just plays at like a normal level, they're going to be fine. Goaltending is a big question mark for a lot of teams in the Western Conference. So I think for me, Dallas is the team to beat. The Knights could sneak in and do something, although something's off with that team. I can't describe it. And, again, I got to see them live and beat the absolute crap out of the Canucks. I think that spoke more about the Canucks just not playing very well that night. But something's off with Vegas. And yes, they can get Mark Stone's going to be back. And we all knew this was going to happen. And that could be a game changer. But what about their goaltending? Like, I'm not so sure on the goaltending for Vegas, right? So it's definitely going to be interesting as the playoffs sort of get going. But let's get to some questions. Excited for the playoffs. I have some Jets Stanley Cup winners bets, but I think unlikely. I don't know about that either. Again, they got the goaltending. The thing with the Jets Jets, though, if you look at it, they don't really have like one superstar, right? Like they've got like Scheifele and a few other big names like Toffoli, but they don't have anyone that can like carry the team on their back. I mean, maybe that'll change in the playoffs, but that's maybe the only thing they're missing. But they've got good defense, and again, they got Hellebuck, who's going to win the Vezina this year. So I think the Jets have a very good chance there. Florida's another team. Yeah, I think that's a good bet as well. I think we'll go over the matchups in a sec, but I don't think that's a bad bet either. Most wonderful time of the year. Absolutely love it. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I know quite literally nothing about hockey. Well, if you have any hockey questions, let's hear them. I'll do what I can. What's up, Billy? Smoke more, a week off. The Canucks' last game is Thursday night. That's true. Who's the New York Yankees of hockey? Would be the Montreal Canadiens as far as like actual like winning cups and in like a storied history. And they're one of the original 6 teams. So Montreal Canadiens, I think, would be Montreal Canadiens or Toronto Maple Leafs would be kind of I think the comparable there. What do the Blues have to fix before next season? I just think they need, I mean, there's a couple things, right? Like, I think they have to look in the future for goaltending. Binnington's been decent for them, but I think they need to, like, I don't even know, you probably know better than me, who's their backup? Like, do they have any guys in the system that are going to come up and potentially take over the number 1 spot? Binnington's been there for a while. Got to switch that up. I know they got some cap issues. They signed some guys to some pretty big contracts. If you can unload a contract or two and maybe free up some space and get some picks, that would be a good idea as well. I just think it's about having more balance in your lineup, and they're another team that doesn't really have a superstar, right? Like, not that it's easy to get a superstar, but maybe make a bold trade in the summer. We'll see. Is it a best of 7 all playoffs? Yes, it is. All right, let's get to the playoff matchups because we know the East is set right now. So this is how things look. Shout out to ESPN. I went to a couple different sites. ESPN was the only one that had like a decent like look at the matchups here. So check this out. Florida Panthers, Tampa Bay Lightning. The Battle of Florida. Gotta love that. That's a coin flip. I would not count Tampa Bay out of that series. I would not. They are, I mean, again, you've got, like, I was just talking about elite players. Kucherov's not on this team. They're probably not making the playoffs. Or they're like battling for a playoff spot, which I guess they kind of are now, or they just, got in there. But Tampa Bay is going to be lethal. They've got great goaltending with Vasilevsky. Like, that's going to be a tough team. And Florida, can they repeat? I mean, Florida's been good all season and they were good in the playoffs last year, but have they evolved from last year's run? Let's see. So that'll be tough. The Bruins and Leafs, this is something I was thinking about this morning. I think the Leafs will win. I feel like this kind of reminds me a bit, and if there's any Canucks fans in here, you'll absolutely know what I'm talking about here, but it reminds me of 2011 when the Blackhawks played the Canucks, and like the Canucks had never beat the Blackhawks. They were like their Achilles heel, and the Canucks almost blew it. Like, people forget. That was a Game 7 game where Burrows scored the OT winner. That was not a guarantee that the Canucks were going to win that series. I kind of feel like the same thing here is for the Leafs. And look, if you look at it top to bottom, the Leafs are the better team. They are a way more balanced team. They have stars. Nothing against the current players on the Bruins now, but they are really going to probably miss a guy like Patrice Bergeron in the playoffs here, with the fact that, he's retired, and, Pavel Zach has been good. They've had some good guys step up, like McAvoy and those types of players. But honestly, like, I would pick the Leafs in a 7-game series against the Bruins right now. I know the Leafs are cursed. We all know this, but I think they'll find a way to get it done. So I like the Leafs there. The Rangers and the Capitals be interesting. I still like the Rangers there. They just have more firepower. I mean, this is a team that won the President's Trophy. I don't think they're going to bow out. They've got good goaltending. Again, they've got a good balance of guys in that lineup. They got, Adam Fox on defense. They've got Panarin as far as one of their good goal scorers, Trocheck. So, that should be more than enough to beat the Capitals, but you never know. And then, the Islanders are a good story, them getting in there. I love the fact, I used to hate Patrick Roy as a player. I don't know why. I'm trying to remember as a kid why I never liked him. Maybe because he played for Colorado, and Colorado always beat the Canucks. But like, him as a coach, I think is kind of interesting. And I'm also like slightly rooting for the Islanders because of Bo Horvat. He used to be the captain of the Canucks. And it's good to just see Bo get rewarded. The guy works hard. I don't think he was a good fit in Vancouver as far as the leadership group, but I think he's a great player who works hard, and I'd like to see him rewarded. But you're facing a team in the Hurricanes who, again, a little bit of question in net, but they are a absolutely lethal team, and they won the Jake Getzel sweepstakes. I mean, that will pay dividends in the playoffs. They have a guy who has playoff experience, cup experience, all that stuff. That is going to help them out. I think that's one of the things they missed last year and why they didn't look so good against Florida. So I like the Hurricanes in that matchup. Now, looking over to the West, this is not set. Some things could be moving around right now. Dallas Stars and the Kings. I think the Stars win that. Again, I'm not too confident in the Kings goaltending there with Cam Talbot. The Stars, like I said, I think are the best team in the West. You got the Jets and the Avalanche. That's a coin flip. Yeah, that really is. I know I mentioned the Jets goaltending, but the Avs are the Avs, man. They always, they're They're a lethal team out there. Total bias aside, I think the Canucks beat the Predators. I don't know how they'll get it done. I could see it going a number of different ways, but on paper, like I think Nashville had a great run, but I didn't think it was a run that like was a true indication of where the team's at. I think it's just remember they missed that concert, and then so if you guys don't know, basically before they went on their crazy win streak, I guess the team was like, no, you can't go see this concert at the Sphere, and then they went on this crazy run. So it was impressive, but not the greatest schedule, and again, I know the Canucks have been kind of hit or miss, but here's the thing that people keep missing. The Canucks, since the All-Star break, have not had Demko. That is the X factor for this team. The fact that they were still winning decently without Demko shows that, there's another level to this team. And there's also guys that I think have not performed very well, like Lindholm, who I think will step up in the playoffs. And you've got just a really well-balanced lineup. You've got good defense. I think the Canucks beat the Predators as it stands now. Again, this could change as far as the order and all that. There's some moving pieces that have to happen, but I like the Canucks in that spot. And then the last spot that we're going to mention here, and again, this isn't set there, the Oilers and the Golden Knights. I don't know. It's a coin flip. It really is a coin flip. Like if Mark Stone's back, you saw the Oilers when they didn't have McDavid when they played San Jose, and I think it was San Jose or one of the teams they lost to that they shouldn't have lost to. I mean, they'll have McDavid, and McDavid always steps up, but I don't know. There's a lot of people who are like, I don't want to play the Oilers. I'm kind of the opposite. Like we've seen this team every year, and like, what's the difference really between the Oilers of last year and the Oilers of this year? Not much. Corey Perry, they got Connor Brown. Like, how have they improved significantly from last year? And not to mention, they started the season off just terribly. I know they went on a great run after that, but I don't know, man. I'm not that worried about the Oilers in the West. Like I said, the teams that and I'm going to mention a bunch here so people don't get, like Dallas, Winnipeg, Colorado, Vancouver, Vegas, I think are the teams to watch out. Maybe the Kings if they get past the Stars, but I'm not too worried about a lot of teams in the West. I'm not worried about the Oilers. Like again, McDavid, it's McDavid, it's Hyman, it's Draisaitl, and then that's it. Evander Kane's had issues with the team this year. They don't really have much of a punch outside of that, in my opinion. So not too worried about that. But again, this is just a rough thing. Next week when we talk, things could look a little bit different. But this is set for the East, so it's going to be a great playoffs this year. And the thing I love about the East is like it's so wide open. Like if you told me the Islanders beat the Hurricanes, I would not be super shocked. So let's get to your questions again. What do we have? You can't bet against the Lightning. Too much experience. Exactly. Slayed the Dragon. There you go. Joel Hofer is our backup. He's not near as good as Binnington. Was he like a first-round pick? I'm going to go look him up. I've never even heard of that name before. And it's not, before people call me a casual, it's like there's so many teams out there. I mainly follow the teams that are in the Canucks division. So he was he was a late pick in 2018. So it doesn't look like this is a guy that's like a mainstay for them. Canucks feel different this year, and I could see them going all the way. Don't forget the Oilers were so bad they fired their coach this season. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I know it's weird. Like, and I've heard some analysts, online not thinking the Predators are going to be the Canucks and all that. I don't know. We'll see. Like, I just like. On paper, the Canucks should beat the Predators. They should be a team because they're well balanced. Like so the Canucks have a bit of everything. They got the superstar, right? They got, Pettersson and Miller. Pettersson hasn't even been that great this season. Miller has. I mean, to have a guy like Miller in the playoffs is going to be clutch. So they've got those two guys there. They've got solid D, right? You've got, Hughes, who in my opinion should be winning the Norris this year. You've got Hronek, you've got Zadorov, you've got Myers, you've got Ian Cole, who's got that Stanley Cup experience. You've got even guys to step in like Mark Friedman, who did okay. Noah Juleson, who's done well in a fill-in role. And then you look at like their other lines, Pierce Suter, Teddy Bluger, Dakota Joshua has been outstanding for the team. Hoglander, what a great season he's had. I mean, look at him last night. He looked like a guy that should be getting paid a couple million a season. This is a guy on like a really bargain good contract. And then again, you've got one of the best goalies in the league in Demko. So that's what it boils down to for me. It's like, look at the teams that are well balanced. And I think Vancouver fits that bill quite well. Other teams, you could say that maybe they're top heavy or low heavy or whatever. Like even Colorado, who I mentioned earlier, like they don't really have like, they have McKinnon, obviously that's like a driving force, but then sort of after those first couple lines, like their third and fourth lines aren't where they used to be in the past. And the goaltending is always a question with Colorado as well. So I'm with you, man. Like I think the Canucks are going to do well this in the playoffs, but I think someone said it great on the radio this morning. I was listening to 650. They were talking about, we're just so scarred as fans that like, you're just expecting disappointment. So like it should work out, but you never know. And I do trust Rick Tocchet. I think that, he should win the Jack Adams this year. Right. So That's kind of my thoughts on everything there. So yeah, we talked about the playoff matchups. We talked about everything there. Let's talk about some of the games tonight, and I'll give my thoughts. And again, be very careful when you guys are betting this next week, because again, there's some interesting things going on. So here's a good example. The Islanders are at home. They're plus money, I think, which I'm guessing, is it because they played last night? I'm not sure why they're plus money. I mean, actually, I might take a stab at that. The only thing I was going to say, though, is the Islanders are gearing up for the playoffs. I mean, they might want to rest some players, so you got to be a little bit careful about that. But still, I mean, you're getting the Penguins are out. Like, they're not playing for anything right now. Might throw a little bit on the Islanders tonight. The Leafs and the Lightning, I'm just going to stay away from this one. Yeah, just because, again, any sort of playoff teams, you got to be a little bit weary here. See, like the Blues and the Stars, like the Stars should win, but if you're the Stars, why wouldn't you rest some players here at home against the Blues who are out of the playoffs? That's an iffy one. And the Oilers and Coyotes, same sort of thing. If anything, maybe lay a little bit on the Coyotes. I mean, well, I think McDavid's going to play, but you know, that like this is how I'm looking at betting right now. It's like, you know, the Islanders, even though they are in the playoffs, I could see them maybe resting a few guys, but still, you're getting the Islanders at home at plus money. That's not bad. But on the flip side, with the Oilers, I could see them definitely resting some players, and the Coyotes maybe getting it done. But the Coyotes have been so awful. Probably just stay away from this. The only one I kind of like is maybe putting a bit on the Islanders, but probably going to stay away. Like I said, like I got bit last night with Boston. There was another team last night that I think I bet on that I got bit. Was it? No, which team? Oh yeah, it was the Bruins. Like, come on, you lose to the Senators? Give me a break. So there we go. Keep the questions coming, everyone. Really appreciate it. So again, we looked at the odds here for tonight. We looked at some of the playoff matchups that are taking place. Yeah, and again, let's look ahead to sort of some of the other schedules as well. So you can see there, yeah, Penguins, Islanders, Leafs, Lightning, Blues, Stars, Oilers, Coyotes. And then tomorrow we've got the Kraken and the Wild, Canucks and Jets on Saturday, Canucks in Winnipeg. So again, I don't know. I don't know the scenarios, like if the Canucks should try and win or not. Like, honestly, I'd just rather the Canucks play Nashville. I think that's the better matchup. I don't want to play Vegas or LA. So I don't know if that means the Canucks have to win or not. I'm not entirely sure the math on that, but that'll be a good game. But again, Canucks, I would probably rest some guys. Actually, no, but the thing with the Canucks is like they're going to have like a week off. Like I think they're not in, or not a week off, but my understanding is they're not playing till the 24th. Or the 20, or it was like Tuesday or something. I can't remember, but there was some sort of scheduling thing. So I think the Canucks are going to get like a week off. So maybe you do play some guys. I don't know. I'm assuming Demko will start that game. I don't see why not. You got the Flames and the Sharks. I mean, the Flames should win, but you never know. Oilers, Avalanche, like the Avs at home in that one. Even if they rest guys, I think they're better. Kings should beat the Blackhawks, and the Knights should beat the Ducks. I believe if the Knights win, they will go into third place. I have to check let me do the math here. I'll do the best I can with the math, the limited math knowledge that I have. I'm never really good at the whole math stuff. But if you look at the standings right now, so where are we here? I like to do the conference. Okay, so in the West, you can see there, Vegas is currently 7, but they have 98 points, 81 games played. So Predators have played a game in hand. So if the Knights beat the Ducks, or the Predators aren't playing, are they? Where's the schedule? Sorry, guys. Let me just look up the schedule. So what I was going to say is that if with Vegas having a game in hand, yeah, the Predators aren't playing that night. So if the Knights win here, they will move ahead of Nashville because they'll have 101 points over the Predators. So they would move ahead. I think they would end up in third because it's based off the what is it? The division, right? So where's Vegas right now? They are, yeah, Predators are here. Vegas would be, they'd move into, oh no, I guess they'd stay in the same. I don't know. I just heard somewhere on the radio that I think if the Knights win, I think they do move into the third spot or something. I'm not sure. So yeah, we'll have to kind of figure that out as well. We got more questions as well here in the chat. Appreciate it. Really liking the Lightning this year. Last run for this group. Carolina looks good, but the goaltending worries me. Yeah, that it does. Again, Spencer, we had Spencer Martin as a backup last year in Vancouver, and he did not do so well. Now, granted, he had to play a good chunk of the games because Demko was injured, but yeah, I would agree. The goaltending is a worry for sure. The Lightning, yeah, let's look at the Lightning. I don't even know really who's like Tampa. Here, where are we here? Tampa Bay Lightning stats. I'm curious to see like who's done well. Obviously, Kucherov's at the top of this team, but curious how the other guys are performing there. So you look at that, Kucherov, look at that, 142 points. He's got 43 goals, 99 assists. That's insane. You've got Braden Point coming in with 89 points. Stamkos still putting up a lot of points. Stamkos got 40 goals this year. That's good. So, but this is where it kind of takes a bit of a dive here, right? You go all the way from Brandon Hagel to 45 points for Cirelli, right? So, but these, like this 4 here, look at this. Hedman, like Hedman is a defenseman with 76 points. It's incredible. And then this is where things sort of take a little bit of a dive there. But then you've got, again, Vasilevsky, who's the man. Guy still continues to put up great numbers. So, yeah, I'm with you. I might look at the odds there for Tampa Bay and Florida because that could be a potential upset there. Love the Jets out west. Cup is coming back to Canada the first time since 93. We'll see. Again, let's look at the Jets even. This is what I was talking about when it comes to, see if I can just type in Jets here, see if it comes up. Also, I've been in touch. I got to mention this as well. I've been in touch with a former Vancouver Canucks player who is launching their own YouTube channel, and I might be getting him on the show at some point. So I was talking to a guy that works with him. Might be getting him on next week. It's someone I've interviewed before. If you've watched any of my stuff over the years, you'll probably know who it is. But I'll just say it's a pretty notable Vancouver Canuck that would be on here. So there we go. Yeah, this is what I was talking about. So you got Scheifele and you got Moretzi, and then you got Kyle Connor, and then look at this, like Monahan's 59 points to Foley 55, but like not like a lot of like huge names. Like if you look at like Tampa, you've got guys that are higher up there. I mean, Kucherov had 142 points. Scheifele only has 72. Like you don't even have a 100-point guy on your team. That's what I mean. Like they don't have a superstar, but they have a lot of like balanced players here. You see a lot of these guys are in the same range, although it does drop off when you get to Namiskov, right? Or Cole Ferretti, 36 points there as well. So yeah, again, we'll see because they got this guy, Connor Hellebuck. And I think Brassois is a backup, is a good option. Remember, he played for Vegas, I think, a year ago. Stamkos has a good season going. Vasilevsky can be scary back there, especially in the playoffs. Exactly. Former Canuck and former Calgary Flame. Did he play for the Flames? Let me double check. I can't remember if he did. Not going to show my hand just yet. What do we have? Yes, he did. I think you might know who it is then. Yeah, he did. I forgot he played for the Flames. Yeah. He only played 2 seasons for them though. So there we go. Yeah, you would be correct. You would be correct. Brendan Morrison. I know a guy. So Brendan Morrison does a fishing show out here in BC, and the guy who runs the show is a friend of mine. And yeah, apparently Brendan's launching his own channel, and he was asking me about bringing him on to actually talk about some MMA because Brendan's an MMA fan. But I said, hey, I'm doing a hockey show now. Would love to get his thoughts on the playoffs. So maybe I'll get him on. We'll see if I can get him on live. If I can't get him on live, then I'll do like something pre-recorded and just add it in the show, something like that. What else do you guys want to talk about? We got like 30 minutes left. Again, not a ton to get into because, like I said, we've got. We can play Puck Doku if you want. If you guys want to. Kind of do something different here, but I kind of gave my thoughts already on the playoffs and kind of the implications and all that stuff. We could go through every team and kind of look at their like how they've done this season. We could talk some more bets. Really, it's up to you guys what you guys want to talk about. This is a show for you guys, so we could talk. Maybe quickly just talk about some of the disappointments for this year. So if you look at the Western Conference, or Eastern Conference, will start there first. The Jackets. The thing with the Jackets is they had such a bad start even before the season got started with the whole Mike Babcock thing, and that had to have been a distraction. You get this Stanley Cup winning coach, but then Babcock's doing all this weird stuff, and shout out to Spittin' Chicklets who kind of broke the barrier there and let people know what was happening with the team, and that caused a big rift. So I think Columbus didn't really have a chance, but man, they signed Goudreau to that big contract. Like, I wonder if they're second guessing that just because he hasn't been looking good, and he's tied in that contract for a while. So there's that one. Canadians, no surprise there. They were going to still be a rebuilding team. The Senators, I think people expected to have a move forward, and now they're talking about trading Jacob Chychrun after they sold the farm to get him. So we'll see what the Senators do this offseason. Again, new ownership. I don't think Jacques Martin's going to be behind the bench next season. That was just sort of like a favor to the organization. There's a few coaching vacancies. Actually, Buffalo fired their coach yesterday. We'll talk about that in a sec. The Devils, they were a disappointment for sure. I think people expected the Devils to take a step forward. They took many steps backwards. Goaltending, I think, is a huge issue with them. They got Jake Allen. I don't know if that's a long-term solution for them. Allen's kind of getting up there in age. They need to get a goaltender big time. If I'm them, I would look again at Markstrom in the offseason and try and look at that. I think that's a much better option for them. And they got to stay healthy. Jack Hughes being out for significant portions of the season, that hurt them as well. The Sabres are another team. Poor Sabres fans, man. I was talking to someone about this yesterday. Like, this is a team that has tried like the rebuild thing. They've gone through I don't know how many coaches, like 8 coaches or something. It's been crazy over the last like I don't know how many years, but they just can't figure it out. And I don't know what the solution is there because they've got some guys tied up. They got some young talent. You know, they got like Owen Power, and they've got some good prospects, but they need some pieces to complement those as well. So yeah, too bad about the Sabres. Again, they fired their coach yesterday, Don Granato, who personally I think the Sabres, and correct me if I'm wrong if any of you guys are watching the Sabres, but I watched some of their games, didn't play with a lot of structure. Kind of like Boudreau, what we had here in Vancouver. And, we saw once they get a coach in, like in Vancouver with Rick Tocchet, where you get a bit of structure, they play quite well. So, I wonder if Babcock's an option there, although I don't know if Babcock's going to be completely out of the league this year. Say what you want. I know there's a lot of controversy around it, but Joel Quenneville will probably get a job next year, you would think. I feel like it's been enough time where I think he'll be back. I think Joel Quenneville will be a great option for Buffalo if they could get him. There's also Bruce Boudreau out there. Boudreau had some success with certain teams in the regular season. We'll see. Craig Berube is another name out there that is going to be very popular within certain teams. So that's a name to keep an eye on as well. So we'll see what happens. The Flyers, again, disappointing. They just, they were so up and down throughout the season. The whole stuff with the Canada stuff with Carter Hart didn't help the situation. Yeah, I mean, I think they're a good team. They just have to. I think they have less work to do than some of these other teams. I think the Flyers are going to be fine. I think they'll be back in that soon. And the Penguins, I mean, listen, they've got I think maybe 1 or 2 more years left of that core of like Malkin and Crosby and Letang, but they got to start thinking about a rebuild. Like this, getting Erik Karlsson was supposed to be the move to put him over the top. He played well this season, but again, we're talking about a team that I think was expected to make the playoffs and they didn't. So let's look even at their stats this season. Leaders by season. Oops, not by season. I want just actual stats. There we go. Stats. Player stats. There we go. So you look at it there. Crosby with 92 points. Malkin with 65. I mean, that's too much of a drop off, guys. That is. Then again, you're relying on Evgeny Malkin, who's how old is he? He's in like close to his 40s now. So that's not going to get it done. You need more than this, right? So this is where they've got to look. And I don't know what their cap. Actually, we'll go look at their cap situation right now. I don't think they have a lot of cap space. So Kyle Dubas, he's got his work cut out for him for sure. Where are the Penguins? Penguins are right here. So yeah, they don't have any cap space. And what's their UFA situation looking like? So Carter's a free agent, so they'll get $3 million off the books with him next year. Who else? Any other big names that they're getting off there? No, not really. So yeah, I mean, they'll have a bit of cap space, but I imagine they're going to try and move some pieces around and see what happens. But like even getting Karlsson, like you're on the hook with him for 10, like he's not worth 10 million. He's just not. Like think how much more he's making than Quinn Hughes, and he's on the books until 2027, 28. So yeah, Penguins are going to have a lot of work to do in the offseason because I don't think this, like they're basically forced to keep this core together for the next little bit. If you look at, Crosby's got 2 seasons left. You got Malkin, a couple more seasons left. I don't know if this is the core that can get it done. So you got to look at it that way as well. Who else? The Red Wings, like I said, bit of a disappointment. I think they'll fire the coach and try it again next year. So that's everything in the East. In the West, San Jose, I mean, I don't know what San Jose is doing. I know they're trying to like trade for picks, but they're almost like doing too much of a rebuild here. Like they're basically giving away everyone and they're not getting a lot in return, to be honest. So San Jose will be near the bottom. You get like a Celebrini or a guy like that. That'll certainly change the franchise for sure. While we're waiting there as well, let's get some questions while we're sort of talking about this. Who do you think will get the number overall pick? I hope it's Columbus, but I think it'll be the Sharks. So yeah, who's the fewest points? It's the Sharks. Look at this. Sharks at 47 points. The next closest one is Blackhawks at 51, and then Columbus is at 66. I don't know. Again, the draft lottery is really weird. I have an issue with the draft lottery. I think if you're a team that has picked first overall before, you should not get to pick first overall for the next couple seasons. Because, like as an example, the Canucks have never picked first overall. That's always annoyed me. I hope it's the Sharks. I don't want to see the Blackhawks get another first overall pick. That's ridiculous. You could look at the history of the Lightning and Panthers playoff series and talk about the narrative. The Lightning Cup window is closing. The Panthers could be opening. Yeah, absolutely. That's totally true, Taylor. You're entirely right. The Lightning do have a bit of a window. Again, what's going on with Stamkos? Let me just go look at there. Is he? I don't know if he's a UFA next year, but I know his contract's coming up here pretty soon. So, Because, like, how old's Kucherov? He's getting up there. So, yeah, Kucherov signed for the next couple seasons. Same with Braden Point. Stamkos, yeah, he's a UFA next year. So I wonder what's going to happen there. Are they going to re-sign him? He's been Mr. Tampa Bay Lightning for his whole career. And they're not really getting any, like, big names off the books either. You only got Hedman for another season as well. They're going to have to figure that out. He might want to raise or maybe not. How old's Hedman? Hedman is 33. So getting to that point where you got to make a decision. Does he want to cash in or does he want to stay with the team? How old's Kucherov? Let me check that out. He is 30. Oh, okay, so he's not as old as I thought. Why did I think he was older? I don't know. Yeah, and then we'll see. And, like, Matt Dumba will be coming off the books. That was a guy they got at the deadline. Cernak, he's tied up for the next little bit. And then when's Vasilevsky? Yeah, Vasilevsky's signed for a while. It's crazy. He's 9.5. I mean, I get it. He's the best, one of the best in the league. But you look at a guy like Demko, who I think is on like a $5 million contract. You got to love that. So yeah, there we go. Yeah, I agree. I think, yeah, I think with the Panthers, the thing with them is that, like, they're, they picked up some vets at the deadline. They look like they look like a little bit more of a polished team this year. And again, they've been there. I think the playoff experience does matter a lot, but, yeah, we'll see, as far as, like, who's going to win that series, but I think it's a coin flip. Like, I don't think you feel comfortable either way. Panthers sort of have a little brother syndrome after all the Tampa success. That's true. Yeah, absolutely. Panthers have not. They've had a lot of. They had the Cup final last year, and then I think the last one was the Van Beesbrook years, right? Yeah, they haven't made the final since then, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll see. Haven't bet in weeks, too unpredictable, but I plan to be in the playoffs when everyone's trying again. Yeah, for sure. I think we'll get it. I think live betting is also worth it too, like to have a look to see how teams are playing. Who do you think has the potential to be this year's Florida? Islanders could be sneaky pick too. Sorokin could be a game changer. That's not a bad pick. Yeah, let's look again at the playoff matchups as far as like a Florida. So it would have to be a team that like did okay this season. Like I don't think this Capitals will be that team. I think out of all the teams in the playoffs, I think the Capitals are probably the weakest. So yeah, I don't think they're going to go on any like magical run. Might be Tampa Bay. Would we put them in that category as well as being maybe the Florida Panthers this year? That's a potential one. Is there anyone in the West? Maybe the King. Well, no, I can't see the Kings because the Kings have got some flaws in goaltending, and they've had points this season when they haven't looked great. I mean, yeah, probably the one that could maybe do that in the West is Nashville. Like if Nashville beats the Canucks, then that might be a team worth checking out just because they were so hot later in the season. Them or the Kings, I would say, is like dark horses, and then the East, I'd go Islanders and Lightning. I guess you could kind of talk Lightning as a. Even though where did Lightning end up finishing up? They ended up finishing up 6th, but I could see them going on a kind of a crazy run as well. Elliot was predicting Utah will be very aggressive in free agency and mentioned Stamkos for a big splash. Yeah, we'll see. That's going to be really interesting. What happens there? And here's the other thing. Like Arizona's got a ton of cap space. Like they never spent to what they needed to. So in some ways they were always at a disadvantage. And then on top of that, like you've got some good prospects like Cooley. And I mean, let's go look at the Arizona lineup right now. Roster. I mean, look at some of these names here. Even Dylan Gauthier, the guy that the Canucks should have drafted if they wouldn't have traded the farm to get him. So you look at it there. Yeah, Cooley's really good. Dylan Guenther, great player. Barrett Hayden. Oh no, Hayden's Clayton Keller. It's another good name as well. Yeah, so they've got some prospects. And again, if you look at the cap space, let's go look at that right now. You'll see they got a ton of cap space here. $5 million in cap space. And I think they've got some guys coming off the books this year too, right? Not anyone like notable, but actually they have a couple of injured workers. Jacob Voracek still playing for them. Shea Weber is still on the books until 25-26. So that's another one. Brian Little. They still have Brian Little? Jesus. Forgot about him too. They're still buying out Oliver Ekman-Larsson getting paid by 2 teams, the Canucks and the Coyotes as well. And buyouts as well. Zach Cassian on the books for next season too. Patrick Namath. So there you go. Yeah. So it'll be interesting. I completely agree. What's a hockey game you watch live that you will never forget? Ooh, I've never been to a playoff game. So I can't really say anything like of note for that. But Trying to think of one. I mean, I went to a couple of good games this year, but probably, you know what? It was last year, and it was in Vegas, and it was when the Canucks beat the Knights, because like no one was expecting that. So that's probably one that comes to mind. What game? I can't even remember that was memorable just because the Canucks weren't expected. It's always fun to go to like another building and watch your team play. That's always a fun experience. Just to like see them in a different building, and then you like, you know, make friends with fans. Oh yeah, and the other thing about that game last year in Vegas is like, okay, so Canucks win last year. This was not actually, it wasn't last year, it was 2022, because the Canucks played in November of the year before. So it was 2022, not last year that we went, because they didn't play in November this year, or last year. They only played Vegas in 2024. So even though it was 2023-2024 season, they didn't play in Vegas until 2024. So it was 2 years ago. But in that was 2022 that I went. After the game, so we're wearing our jerseys and like you're high-fiving everyone. It was cool. Like it was, yeah, that's probably a memorable game for me, just because like you're somewhere different. You're like on vacation and you're with a bunch of Canucks fans. That was really cool for sure. What do you think is the most important in the playoffs? Goaltending, third or fourth lines, overperforming, or defensive depth? I think it's a combination. Like I don't think there's one particular thing. I think if you're looking at, like, for example, last year with Vegas, like Hill played outstanding for them. Bobrovsky played outstanding for Florida. That's how they were able to sort of push through. But then you need guys to really step up. Like, who thought Matthew Tkachuk was going to like go on like beast mode in the playoffs last year in the Eastern Conference? Like, no one really expected that. Like, he was a good player, but he definitely leveled up after in the playoffs. So I think that's as well. So I'd say, you know, third and fourth lines are important. You need guys to, you know, get it in the net. But I think it would be goaltending, and then I think just like one or two players to like really step up. And that's what's interesting, right? Like there's going to be players this playoffs that we're not going to know too much about that are going to be like, you know, taking over. Like I'll never forget, this is a really old reference, but any of you hockey fans that have been watching for a long time, you guys remember the Oilers, and you guys remember a guy by the name of Fernando Pisani? I'll never forget this. The guy like came out of nowhere and was like scoring clutch goals for the Oilers. Like this was when they went on their run to the Cup final against Carolina. And like no one even knew who this guy was, and he became like an unsung hero. Like that's what we like seeing in the playoffs, is like guys that are like completely unexpected that like, you know, go on some like crazy runs. So yeah, that's the fun part for me of the playoffs, is finding these guys that really like step up to the plate. Did you catch the Frozen Four? Denver won their 9th championship. I did not. No, I missed that. But I know. How did John? You'd know this better than me, because I'm assuming you watched. How did Boston College do? Because obviously they have Tom Willander and Celebrini on the team. So I was curious, like how they're performing. And by the way, we should look. That's one thing I should mention here before we get out of here pretty soon. What is it? Hockey Prospects 2024. I think they had their projected rankings. Trying to see when this is updated. Yeah, here we go. Here, we'll just look at the hockey news here. So this is one they've got here where it's looking at the draft rankings for where are we here? Okay, so this is we won't go through this whole list, but if you look here, you can see these are some of the prospects that are on the way. So Macklin Celebrini, this is the guy who's supposed to go first overall. How crazy would this be, though, by the way? Just, you know, again, try not to be too biased on here, but this would be back-to-back years that we would have a first overall pick from Vancouver. I think that's so cool. So, yeah, Celebrini is considered the number one consensus pick. You look at number 2 is Demidov, who plays in Russia. He is a, what is he? He's a right winger. Which, you know, nowadays, like the guy, if you're looking to draft, unless like you want to just take best player available, but like the two hardest positions to draft well for are centers and defensemen. So that's something to keep in mind. And Celebrini is a center, so that's a good move there. So you got Demidov, you got Berkeley Catton out of Spokane, who's done quite well. Again, he's a center. He'll be in demand for sure. I've got Caden Lindstrom. Is he related to Nicholas Lidstrom? I'm gonna double check that. Nicholas Lidstrom, the Detroit Red Wings great. Anytime I see a last name like this, oh no, absolutely not. There's a pretty obvious reason why. I won't mention it on here, but yeah, they're not related at all. Caden Lindstrom, interesting. Okay, so another center. You've got Zeev Bunim. He's a Denver guy, so he would have won the thing there as well. So again, he's a left-handed defenseman. Right-handed are more sought after. Here's a right-shot defenseman, Michigan State, Artem Leshonov, looking good there. We'll just go through the top 10 here. Michael Brands. I'm not even going to bother pronouncing that, but he is a right winger out of Norway. Pretty cool there. We've got another left shot D out of Sweden. This guy here, projected to go number 8. Number 9, we got another OHL guy. So you see a mix here. You're seeing a lot of guys, a couple guys from college, a couple guys from obviously the OHL and the Canadian Hockey League as well, WHL. And yeah, Sam Dickinson, left-handed shot out of London. So a good mix of prospects there. But yeah, if you look on the Hockey News, they always do a really good job with their prospect rankings. But Celebrini, again, a lot of people feeling like he'll be the guy to do it. We got a new member here. Thank you, Shannon. Appreciate that. BC lost in the finals against Denver. Okay, good to know. Good to know. I got to go. I still got to rewatch those highlights. It was right in the thick of, I think, when I was covering UFC 300 last week. Interesting. Just joined from Victoria, BC. Well, thank you for joining, Shannon. Really appreciate it. Yeah, we do the show every week. So, like I said, I think next week I'll try and go live. Whenever the Canucks are playing game 1, I'll probably go live after that, and we'll do this at a different time. And you guys can always submit questions ahead of time, because what I'll do is I'll set up the YouTube shell well in advance. So if you guys have questions that you want to get answered, we'll certainly do that there. Let's do like 5 more minutes, guys. I do have to take off a little bit early today. I got an NFL draft show to do after this, actually. But figure we'll get some more questions in. We'll do some rapid fire here, or anything you guys want as well. So appreciate that. We have the Victoria Royals, of course. Yeah. No, I follow the WHL quite well. Out here on the Lower Mainland, I watch the Vancouver Giants a lot. So it's been a lot of junior hockey. Like anyone out there who's never seen a junior hockey game, highly recommend going to check it out. It's a cheap ticket. It's fun for the kids if you've got a family. It's a lot of fun. I certainly enjoy watching some junior hockey, and I did even when I was younger. I used to when I was going to school in Ottawa, when I was going to university, I used to go see the Ottawa 67s play all the time. It was great. I remember it's funny to see like certain players go on to like greatness, like Logan Couture, who ended up becoming like a mainstay with the San Jose Sharks. He was like a good player for the 67s at the time. I remember watching like Corey Perry and other players in the OHL as well. So yeah. I mean, it's been a lot of fun to see those guys in junior and then see them play. Like I saw Connor Bedard play last year in the Prospects game, and now he's one of the best players in the league, right? It's pretty cool. What else? What do you think is most likely to choke in the first round of the playoffs? Ooh, hate to say that, but I'll go. Let me just look at the standings here. I'll go. I mean, this wouldn't really be a choke because it's 4 and 5 playing, but I would say that I think the Leafs will beat the Bruins. But let's go with a kind of a wild card one. Let's kind of look at this. Well, if it stands like it is right now, with the Oilers playing the Knights, I could see the Knights winning that. That's one for sure. Maybe another one like Los Angeles is a bit sneaky too. But I can't see Dallas losing. No, there's no way. I don't see Dallas losing. The only ones, okay, like teams that I could see potentially choking, I could potentially see the Avalanche choking just because they're, they've been kind of beat up and they're not the team they used to be. I don't think Dallas chokes. There's a small possibility Vancouver could choke, but I don't even want to put that in the universe out there because again, like it's just been so much suffering as a Canucks fan. And the Oilers, I could see the Oilers going out too because again, I'm not convinced with that goaltending. Now in the East, I think the Rangers are pretty set. Hurricanes, as John mentioned, they've got some interesting goaltending. Hurricanes could be one that could go out, although I'd be surprised. Again, they got Getzel this year, and then I'd go the Bruins as well. I think the Leafs will be that. Who wins between Boston and Toronto? I think Toronto wins. I do. I went to my first NHL game March 28th, Canucks and Dallas Stars. It's awesome. Did the Canucks win? I can't remember that game. So you're on the main line. I am. Yes, South Delta. I think the Preds could upset the Canucks. I don't know. Like, I think the Canucks are more I think they have a more well-balanced lineup, but you never know. Like it's tough to say, to see how the Canucks could do there, right? So have you heard of Canucks Clay? I have, yes. I've actually met Canucks Clay. I was at, what game was it? I went to the Ottawa Senators and Canucks game early January, and I saw Canucks Clay in line, and I shook his hand. He's a nice guy. Really good content. There's a lot of good content creators in Vancouver as well, so appreciate you mentioning that. Who are you guys most excited for in the playoffs? What are some matchups you're looking forward to? Again, we don't have it set in the West, but like out of the Panthers, I mean, we'll go do a quick screen share here before we get out of here. But I'm curious for you guys, what matchups excite you the most in the East? For me, it's got to be Boston and Toronto. Like just the history there, and obviously Toronto having not a lot of success against Boston in the playoffs. I think the Panthers and Lightning is going to be great. And I think the Hurricanes and Islanders would be great. Again, the Islanders kind of just sneaking in, and the Hurricanes, like Dave, remember last year they got absolutely embarrassed by Florida. Like, can they upset there? We'll see. And I think in the West, for me, it's got to be the Jets and the like obviously Canucks, but Jets and the Avalanche. If they end up playing each other, that's going to be a really, really, really good series. So those are some ones that I'm looking forward to. But by all means, let me know what you think as well. Worry for Canucks is Soros is playing out of his mind. Doesn't matter. Demko's better than Soros at the end of the day. Like, he is. Like, and Demko looked good last night. He looked like the old Demko. I'm not worried about that at all. I think if it comes down to goaltending, Canucks will win because Demko's better than Soros. But saying that, I mean, Nashville's got some grinders. They've got some guys that can step up like O'Reilly, and they've got some sandpaper, and they've got some good scorers as well. But I don't know. JT Miller, like, I think that guy alone is the best player. If the Canucks end up playing Nashville, like, I think Miller's better than anyone on Nashville, personally. Panthers and Tampa, Bruins, Leafs will be great. Yeah, for sure. I can't wait, guys. Like, this is honestly the best time of the year for a variety of reasons. But number one, like, here in Vancouver, the weather's nicer. So, like, you're outside, you're wearing shorts, you can watch hockey. Like, I'll probably have the hockey game on, like, outside if I can. Like, if it's really, really nice in the backyard, maybe bring out my laptop or something to watch the game and then sit out in the backyard. It's going to be awesome. And then, yeah, just like the fact that, like, it's so unpredictable. Like, nothing, like, just because a team looks good on paper doesn't mean they're going to succeed. Like, you guys have to remember, the Canucks haven't been in the playoffs. I mean, I don't count the bubble, really. I mean, the bubble was, like, kind of a thing, but 2015 was the last time the Canucks made the playoffs. Like, I haven't even, like, brought myself to enjoy the fact that the Canucks are in the playoffs until I actually watch a game, because, like, it's been so long. We played Calgary in the first round, and we did not have a good, I mean, we had an okay team. The Sedins were still on that roster, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to the playoffs there. I agree, Michael. Absolutely. Very hard to predict this year. Exactly. Yeah, you never know. Like, again, Vegas, like, on paper, like, if they get Mark Stone back, like, they are probably one of the most lethal teams, but then they got the question in net, and they've been playing a little bit inconsistent. You know what I mean? Like, so that's where things get a little bit interesting there. So there we go. All right, guys, and girls, I should say, really appreciate you all tuning in. If you guys have any other questions, just post them in the chat. If for some reason you didn't get your question answered or you're watching the replay of this, let me know. I think next week we're going to try and go live maybe Tuesday night. I think that's when the Canucks play. So I'll hop on here, and I won't just talk Canucks, even though I am a Canucks fan, but we'll talk about all the games and do some live reactions, because I know a lot of you are going to want to discuss the action that happened in the NHL that night. So I'm going to hop on here and try and do these during the evening. I don't know if I'll do multiple shows. I got to talk to my boss about that, but I wouldn't mind, because I'm going to be up anyways watching the game, so I might as well go live on here with you guys and see if this is something you guys want to discuss. So just keep your eyes out in the community tab on this channel, or follow me on Twitter @LynchOnSports. That's another way to find out when I'll be going live again. But really good chat here today, guys. Really appreciate it. Enjoy the games tonight. Enjoy the start of the playoffs, because I won't talk to you before that. So really looking forward to some of the matchups, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday, and I'll talk to you guys soon.